history tonight. First perfect game, first 7-inning perfect game in program history. First perfect game in 20 years. Taylor Sawyer, Aisha Simmons, and now Sarah Willis joining that list. Your thoughts on Sarah's historic night?
I mean, she just did her job of throwing her pitches. Even when she was in counts that were behind, she still stuck with what she knows and works best for her. And I think the biggest thing is how she defended. I want to say she probably had about like 8 assists. So she's just solid for us. And I do think that how our offense came out and kind of just started hitting right away, swinging right away, definitely puts the momentum in our hands. And Sarah took that and ran with it.
Tell me about Carson and Sarah, because a little while ago you decided to pair those two, and they've obviously clicked. What did you see in those two? Because Carson's a part of this history.
Yeah, she is.
All right, good job.
So what Carson does best is she'll like just wear a ball, blocking it. And I remember talking to her and saying like, hey, in the bullpen you can have like a few minutes where we work on that, but you don't always have to block because you want to protect your body. And this was the comment she made to me. She said, well, I want them to feel confident that they can snap it off and know that I'm going to get it. So that's why I block all the time. And so with Sarah's, the speed and velocity that she throws, her downward movement that she has, I felt like it was a good matchup, and being able to feel comfortable throwing what she throws. And, again, Carson will put her body in front of anything. So that allows the pitchers, and especially with Sarah, she doesn't have to give up on anything. She can throw it as hard as she wants or take off as much as she wants of the pitch, and that's important. So
you obviously a two-time All-American. You know what it's like to throw a no-hitter perfect game. You're a pitch caller. Can you tell when a pitcher like Sarah's on, they're like, hey, this could be pretty special tonight? What's it like being the pitch caller? Because you know that you're one of the few that can relate to what Sarah went through tonight.
Well, I mean, I was honestly like, why are they congratulating her? I called the pitches. I think she's just really turned it on here through conference, and I feel like she's had the ability to do that in most of her outings. Most recently, I started to notice it maybe like in the 4th, 5th when we started getting people out, and I'm looking at it because her pitch count in the first hitters of the innings, the first inning and second inning, we took a lot of pitches to get them out, and then she'd get the other 2 out a little bit quicker, and then it started like 6 pitches, 7 pitches, and I was like, all right, she's starting to figure some things out. And she didn't get rattled by a few of like those calls that maybe didn't get called in our favor, and just stuck with it and she didn't try to adjust up or anything. She just stuck with what she did until he called it. And so I think that those things are super important. But again, I would say that just as a whole, her coming out as strong as she did, and then the momentum from the offense that we had, and then the big adjustment like later in the game, putting the ball back on the ground and line drives, I mean, that kind of seals the deal. So and normally, in the 7th, when you're in that situation, pitchers can pitch a little tight, and I thought she did a good job of just staying loose and throwing her game.
This is the first perfect game here in 20 years. How many have you been around? I mean, it can't happen that often, but in your experience, player as a coach, you kind of remember how many you've been involved with?
I don't remember like the exact count, but as a head coach, this is my 2nd.
Okay.
And my husband just reminded me of the first ever at Boise State when I was coaching there. Transfer pitcher, ironically, that came from Southern California. So, I've been a part of them as a player, as a teammate, as an assistant coach. But I mean, again, it's very hard to do because when you're spinning the ball and mixing pitches, you could add a walk in there, here or there. And that was the big thing, that she just kept attacking the zone even when she got behind in the count or when they were swinging aggressively. So it's special, and they don't come around all the time, and especially against a good hitting team like Houston, so.
sure you wouldn't have minded the game ending a little earlier with the walk-up, but seeing what happened in
Yeah.
retrospect, it was cool for her to have that moment, being on the mound when she clinched it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that, Elo said that it's the first 7th inning perfect game is pretty incredible. So, because we've had some great pitchers here. So when I heard that it hadn't happened since 2008, I mean, because someone asked me, has it ever happened here? And I was like, well, surely it had to. We've had such great pitchers here. And I was thinking like the Mackenzie Otis and the Shelby Turner and
2003, right?
2003.
Was it 2003?
2003.
Oh, so it wasn't
Taylor
2008.
Sawyer and Paisha Simmons.
There were
Okay.
five innings.
5-inning
Yeah.
perfect games. This is the first ever 7-inning
Huh.
perfect game.
Yeah. So, and again, you're talking about All-American pitchers that we've had that, just across the board, and we always play tough schedules regardless. So, I just think that it's pretty incredible, and it speaks to what Sarah has really done since she's been here and the adjustments she's made and how hard she's working.
Can you talk about the difference that it's made for Sarah? Just because I noticed that for the past month she's really started to emphasize pitching a lot more. So how
Yeah.
big was that for her to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough because being a two-way player myself, I remember my coach telling me, and her and I had this talk of, hey, you're going to pitch a little bit more and hit a little less. And I was not happy about that, right? Like, I loved hitting just as much as I loved pitching. But I understand it way more now. And especially the role she's had to take on this is new for her in her career of, being somebody that gets the majority of the innings. And in order for us to be at our top game, we need our pitcher to be locked in. And so we kind of saw how, kind of taking her out of the batting lineup in that way helped us. Now we still sneak her in there, and especially in game 2. But I also see where, like, if we need to bring her in late in the game, we want her to come out of the bullpen, not off the field, because she's not only one of our strong hitters, she can also play outfield really well. And so that it's tough, but she's sacrificed that knowing that our team needs her to put her most energy into what she does in the circle.
Aubrey Evans, big hit. It kind of basically intentionally walked Cody without calling it out. She's been there before, and she delivered that big hit against Wilkie to break that game open in the 5th.
Yeah. Well, it's something that we've worked on all week with the entire team, and I think it was very noticeable that they came in with the approach that we had been working on and really trusted it, just how often we were swinging, how aggressive we were. And Aubrey was one, she got the sac fly in the first inning. And then her second at bat, I think she had a pop up in the infield. And so we just talked about the adjustment that needed to be made. And the way she worked her count, she laid off the up, is exactly what we talked about. So it's fun to be able to talk about the approach and then them execute it pitch for pitch. But she's somebody, she's a freshman that doesn't act like a freshman, right? And it's just, she's got a very bright career ahead of her. And like, we'll take it. If they're going to walk Cody, I obviously, my little competitive self is like, they're coming after you. They're walking her after the first pitch. And she just gets this little grin on her face. And it's, you want that to happen. So in order for us to have the lineup that we have and to apply pressure with every single hitter, because I think that's what we did tonight. 8 of our hitters had base hits tonight. That's what it needs to look like. So really proud of them.
Yeah, Coach, just out of curiosity, with your pitching extrication background, what was your good pitches and characterize your style?
So there's times where Sarah that can throw 70 miles per hour will still work backwards. And I think pitchers that maybe are more of like off-speed thumbers, they can work backwards for so long, but Sarah has a 70 mile per hour fastball, if you will. And so to have those things, I'll kind of see how they stand in the box and then how they take pitches. So if I think they're trying to sit her changeup, then we'll throw it less. So if you notice, like, we'll use it, then we'll go away from it, and then we'll use it again. And that's really just trying to see what their tendencies are, their timing. And again, for her ability to be able to throw that pitch in any count at any time is huge for her. And it's very tough for hitters. But I think what was big for her too was being able to steal those strikes with her faster pitches today.
but just out of curiosity,
Yeah.
what were your great pitches?
Oh, my great pitches. I typically would say the pitch that worked that day. But I became an All-American when I got a great changeup. So when I developed that great changeup, my sophomore, junior year in college is when I started to really figure it out. But I had the ability to throw hard, not as hard as Sarah, but I spotted the ball, and that's what I lived off of. So, I mean, again, whatever pitch worked that day against that team, but I was more of an upspin pitcher, which ironically we have more down ball pitchers this year. And so, yeah, that's kind of, I utilize getting more outs in the air.
Speaking of you being the player, you mentioned that you yourself received the talk about pitching more and hitting less. Did you being on the receiving end of that talk help giving Sarah that talk and you had to do that?
Absolutely, yeah. And then I even told her, like, look, I was mad about this. Like, I remember looking at Coach like, are you crazy? I've led an RBI on our team. Like, what the heck? But what he was doing makes total sense to me in my coaching brain now. And he would put me into hit when it needed to happen. But we only had 2 pitchers that year, and so I usually would throw the first game, come in the second game, throw the third game of a series. And so he knew that that's a lot of wear and tear on the body. Like, nowadays, you've got more pitchers on a staff, and so our goal is to, like, not go over 150 innings before postseason. I mean, I threw 300 innings a year. So to understand what that means, and you get on base and then you're running and you can only be pinch ran for one time. Again, I can win a couple games with my offense, but I can win a lot of games with the pitching. And so that's how I just described it to her. And Coach Colsey, when he talked to me, and then how he let me navigate through that was awesome when I was at Pacific. And so that definitely helped me in my coaching time. And I always tell him, like, I use your stuff a lot, Coach. Even if I didn't like it when I was a player, it definitely helps me now. So
All right, congrats, Coach.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.